Hey everyone, I planned to put this up last week or do it over the weekend, but that did not work out. So we'll just see if we can fit in a quick 15 to 20 minutes in between other things. So I started digging around with my exciting GovDoc information in Hind Online, and I only found a couple of things, but the couple of things I found started intriguing me. And then, if you want to skip over the boring bit, you can cut straight to looking at the results. I found an ERIC for Miss Dorothy Sisk, because that is also interesting. Anyway, first thing I found was this exciting program for the World Council for Gifted and Talented Children, the Third International Conference being in 1979. And I am going to scroll to some highlights I found. A lot of this is pretty standard conference stuff. La 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 la. So, developmental study of intellectually gifted preschool children, the relationship to measures of psychological giftedness, moral development, and the gifted. These are all names of like panel presentations. This I looked up, the dysynchronization syndrome, which ties back into the binaural beats training they were giving us to get our hemispheres to talk to each other. I cannot find any sort of search result for inverted Pygmalion effect. I did find something for Pygmalion effect. It's basically like believing in your student enough so that they come to life, but I don't know what the inverted part is. Like maybe you self-sabotage them. But that was a really interesting title and that leapt out at me. There's also this national local level, so I wanted to just point out that this is like very, very thorough. National overview, so we have like Brazil, Canada, Japan, Korea, South Africa. No, I do not know why this person who uploaded this document circled West Germany. But yeah, this is clearly before the fall of the Berlin Wall. Special cases, mixed ability groupings, and then we have this integrative education for gifted with sample lessons on transformations. I'm like, transformations of what? And then we have this effective guided fantasy on the creative thinking writing ability of gifted students. I definitely remember doing a lot of like directed meditation woo-woo stuff, but I assume that was just because of the teachers I had. And also I took creative writing, so like, well, that wasn't in elementary school. Gifted underachievers, I flagged this section for those of you that keep claiming you're in category 2 or the B category. I definitely was in category A because I got away with all sorts of stuff because I was smart, which is not good either. So bright kids in trouble with the law, ding ding ding, that applies to me. Also like fear of success. Definitely got some of that. Then we have this research program of science teaching for children of outstanding ability and or exceptional motivation in science. And the exceptional motivation thing has me wondering because this department was under like handicapped children, and was this really, were they really just tagging us as neurodiverse autistics? Is that what was going on? We have a whole section of seminars on ethical values and interpersonal effectiveness, so like moral growth. Thinking with newspapers, you can tell what era we are still in. Effective relations program, I probably could have used that. And then we have gifted handicapped children, and then the parents and counselors, so yeah, voluntary counseling services. Nurturing, teacher training. Here we go. And so the culturally different and culturally deprived gifted child, so developing a realistic program for the culturally different, economically disadvantaged GNT, I would be the second one there. And also talking about creative abilities of culturally and socially deprived children, that would also be me, because my mom left and it was pretty much just me and my dad, and I didn't go out a lot until he forced me to go into Girl Scouts. And then we have like this final one, the more gifted among the disadvantaged. And then closing plenary is like challenge of educating minorities and the poor, developing human potential in other developing countries. So yeah, this was a global thing, which is kind of spooky. All right, I'm going to try and open this other PDF. I'm going to take a little quick pause. Okay, just didn't want you to watch that flail. So we did find this. I was looking for Dorothy Sisk on what to do if your child is gifted article in GovDocs, and this is the closest thing I got, which is kind of interesting. Thank you so much, GVSU, for preserving this so that we can look at it. So this is Giftedness, a National Perspective from Dorothy Sisk, and the Office of Gifted and Talented is within Bureau of Education for the Handicapped. And I did watch someone's video where they said, like, when they spoke to a doctor, they're like, yeah, you're autistic. And it's like, wait, what? That was just your nice way of tagging us for being neurodivergent and not, I don't know. There's a whole like issue with having the psychology of telling kids that they're super smart and that they will succeed, and then if you don't, a whole bunch of yeah, guilt on that. And then in 1976, the law that passed it was Public Law 93-380, which I'll look into more later. Dun, 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 dun. And then we have who, by virtue of outstanding abilities, are capable of high performance, including those who have demonstrated any of the following abilities or aptitudes singly or in combination: general intellectual ability, specific academic aptitude, creative or productive thinking, that one would be me, leadership ability, visual and performing arts aptitude, and psychomotor ability. So slightly less on number 5. Definitely not psychomotor ability. I'm the clumsiest person ever. So under Special Projects Act, which again is at Public Law 93-380, Office of Gifted and Talented funded 39 states and trust territories in the last 3 years. I think trust territories are like Puerto Rico and Guam and those sorts of places. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. 39 state grants included funds for a full-time state consultant, opportunities to develop comprehensive state plans with recommendations for a funding mechanism, and leadership activities for teachers and administrators. 68% of the annual budget of $2.56 million was used to support these state efforts. And then we're going a little bit into local and some percentages, but that's a significant investment. So I'm just going to do another quick flip here over to Eric. So taking a look at Eric, looking at Dorothy Sisk, and there's a lot in here. And the downside of the free version of Eric is I can't like limit it to the time period which I'm actually interested in, and nor can I, as far as I can tell, like sort this by date. So that does make me a little perturbed, not gonna lie. So, but I did scroll through here and start looking at some of the ones that are closer to the 80s. So 2022, 2021, 2003, 83, education, patterns for the future, tempo, underserved gifted populations. There's some weird stuff though coming up, don't worry. 2002, gifted students booming. Spiritual intelligence, here's one of them. Developing higher consciousness revisited. Explores psychology, science, ancient wisdom, and traditions, including indigenous traditions, to establish a foundation for spiritual intelligence. Okay. Optimizing creativity, more papers. Creative life spark. Okay, engaging spiritual intelligence of gifted students to build global awareness in the classroom. Using a multi-sensory approach to access one's inner knowledge to solve global problems can be an integrating theme to engage gifted students in building global awareness in the classroom, and then introduces individuals providing training in higher consciousness and presents examples of strategies to further develop said higher consciousness. This is in 2008. Easing the burden, being gifted would have been nice. Success Express, building on the butterfly effect. International perspective on gifted and talented programs. So Australia, and again it was like Australia, USSR, some other interesting places. Centering activities to stimulate further develop the ability to incubate or pay attention to the imagery continuously going on in the brain's right hemisphere. So the party that's connected to the global consciousness. Can you notice it? That's me every time, and the yes test that teacher can use in gathering feedback on perceptions, thoughts, and values of gifted students, particularly adolescents. That's me every time. I'm going to click this. Yeah, see, unfortunately, the downside of Eric is it's an index, so we don't have the direct access, and I'm going to have to dial it out eventually. But some of these, like I said, are just kind of wild. Come Alive Classroom. See, Taylor's Creative Totem Pole Theory. Anyone want to chime in on what that is? Future directions. It was mostly the like psychic stuff that like leapt out of me. Computers, an invitation and a challenge. Of course, a national perspective, the Dillon Outdoor Education Product. Wow. Knots on a counting rope. Standards-based, inclusive, and assessment. Okay, this was it. Spiritual intelligence. 10th intelligence that integrates all other intelligences. 7 ways to develop spiritual intelligence. Can we think about goals, identify values, access inner processes, use visualization, integrate personal and universal vision. What? Universal vision? Take responsibility of goals, develop a sense of community, focus on love and compassion, take advantages of something or other. A different approach pays off. Okay, step up. Systematic training of educational programs for underserved pupils locates children from minority economically disadvantaged populations with high potential in Texas, Arkansas, Florida, Arizona, and then uses a teaching approach that emphasizes critical thinking, vocabulary building, self-esteem strengthening, and the usual things. This, The Mythic Journey, describes a literature-based unit on mythology. Okay, sure. Mythology. Cultural literacy can help in troubled times, creativity, potential, and progress. Okay, that one we actually have a full text on. I'm going to grab this now so I can see it. Oh, and of course I keep getting that. Alright. So you had to see that. I'll come back for it later. Leadership, making things happen. Communication skills for the gifted. Just 2 group dynamics activities. Circle partners and think pink. For building listening, interpretation, and discussion skills. I see some of you guys out there like have your actual like worksheets. I don't remember ever getting worksheets, but there's a lot of things I don't remember. What if your child is gifted? Yeah, this was the one I wanted to like dredge out, but I can't get the actual publication here. So by knowing the indicators, you can spot special talents and start bringing them to flower. Going through school lockstep. Response to Elkind. A child-centered approach to maximizing individual how to live, learn, love, and communicate. Their learning pace and information content provided to their level of functioning. Oh, I bet Elkin was I'm sorry. Elkin was probably a letter to the editor. My bad. I'm like, what is an Elkin? That sounds like a fairy magical kingdom, doesn't it? Alright, don't worry, I got 2 more pages, and then I'll go back and try and grab some of these PDFs and have something to share with you later. Caring and sharing moral development. Bibliography, group dynamics, promoting moral development, bibliotherapy. Ooh. Integrating the arts with language arts, which, you know, is a good thing in general. Like I said, the spirituality thing was the thing that made me go, what? Expanding worldwide awareness of gifted, challenged children and youth. Identifying and serving primarily via curriculum and structural differentiation through special classes, enrichment, and acceleration. Programs in Brazil, Canada, Australia, Middle East, Israel, Philippines, Soviet Union, Bulgaria, Poland, Indonesia, Taiwan, and probably some other places. State of gifted education, multifaceted, specific. Anyway, yeah, the things we just went over about the 4 or 5 different options. Using conventional psychometric tests to assess the abilities of disadvantaged pupils, justifies using alternative assessment procedures, emphasizes the importance of changing teacher attitudes, leadership development for cross-cultural understanding, so that's the other fun thing. 10-day seminar of 30 graduate and undergraduate students explore methods for building cross-cultural understanding using the Kolb learning cycle. Business initiative. Bridging the gap, thinking with a futurist perspective. Futuristic thinking is particularly applicable to high-ability students and discusses specific strategies for developing futuristic thinking. See, and that kind of makes sense even from a normal perspective, but some of the other ones I'm just like, you should put every child in a gifted program, because they're all gifted. Alright, last page. Thank you for hanging in here with me. I'll try to keep it like a minute or actually just 1 citation. So vision with action, developing sensitivity to societal concerns and gifted youth. So try to take positive social action through service learning, future problem solving as a community problem solving. Anyway, as you can see, there are some interesting topics that Dorothy Sisk cited for in here, and I'm going to try and at least get that one that we saw just now and a PDF, and I guess we'll talk about it later, because yeah, I'm not quite sure why we were so concerned about higher consciousness. Doesn't really seem like something you would be talking about at school, but maybe I just have a strange understanding of the separation of church and state at the K-12 level. Anyway, tell me what you think.